Over the past 3 years of owning my Tacoma, I've been making a lot of upgrades and small changes to my truck bed setup based on my lifestyle. Now there's been a few iterations of different things I've done to it. I'm sure you guys who have been watching my channel for a while may already know that. And while I'm always like, yeah, I'm 100% done with my truck build, or my setup is complete, we all know that's actually never the case. However, when it comes to my truck bed, I think for at least the foreseeable future, I am done building it up finally. And again, no guarantee, but I just have checked everything off of my list that I've been wanting to do to it. And basically in today's video, I wanted to do a little walk around for you guys and show you what I've done and why I've done it. Now I realize what I'm about to show you is not for everyone. I know there are gonna be so many people out there who would say that they would never get a truck bed set up like this, or they would never build up their truck bed in this way. So I'm not saying this is the ultimate truck bed setup, but I am saying this is my ultimate truck bed setup. This is what works for me and the ways I like to use my truck. So I have a lot of things to go over and show you guys. I think I've added like 7 or 8 different things to my truck bed. So let's just jump right into it. Now, while I don't tailgate a lot, let me say this setup is perfect for that sort of thing because I've got not 1, not 2, but 3 bottle openers just on the back over here. Alright, so the most obvious things you guys see that I changed are obviously adding this giant deck system, traction boards, Molle panels, and I'll get into all that, but I wanted to start off with something you guys can't actually see, and I gotta close the tailgate for it. I installed this about 2 years ago, and that is an automatic locking tailgate. So basically I can take my key fob over here and lock my truck, and the tailgate locks. I can also unlock my truck, and the tailgate unlocks. Now previously I had to use this manual key to lock and unlock my tailgate, which was totally fine, but it's just so much easier if you can lock it with your key fob and the rest of the truck. So what allowed me to do this was installing a pop and lock, and I have a whole video about the pop and lock if you guys are interested. It's a super easy install. You're not cutting through any wires or anything. It is loud, I will say, but I like hearing it because I know then my tailgate actually locks. Also, I like that you can still lock and unlock the tailgate with your manual key, as you just saw. But yeah, nice little safety enhancement to have a locking tailgate with your key fob. Speaking of security, I added another small theft deterrent thing to possibly prevent my tailgate from getting stolen. Let me show you. So the way these horrible people steal Tacoma tailgates, and I know because I've had a friend get one stolen, and by the way, these are super expensive to replace. The only things they have to remove are this cable, and somehow detach this wiring harness, which I'm sure they just cut most of the time. Or I'm pretty sure back underneath the truck there is a wiring harness you can just pull out. Removing the cables are pretty easy because all you have to do is lift the tailgate up to about 45 degrees and then kind of just slide the cable out like that. Do that on both sides. And normally, assuming the wiring harness was cut or detached, you'd be able to pull the tailgate out on the passenger side over here. However, I have something preventing that, so let me put these back on and show you. This right here is a little hose clamp that basically just covers up the opening for the tailgate, so you only need one on the passenger side, because if we go over to the driver's side, you can see the tailgate can't detach this way. So adding a little hose clamp, and mine right here is just covered in heat shrink too, for a slightly better look. Really isn't designed to 100% prevent people from stealing the tailgate. I mean, they could cut this if they really wanted to. However, it does add extra time and just an extra level of security. So theft deterrent and not necessarily prevention, but this is so easy and cheap to do, which is why I did it. There's a guy on Tacoma World who essentially makes like a better version of these hose clamp locks. He actually makes like this metal bracket piece that covers the opening and is secured in with a security Torx bit. So again, not something 100%, but that's even a better layer of security. So I'm talking to him about getting one of those for my truck. He also paints them to color match the truck, so it looks really OEM. But yeah, basically a hose clamp is like the age-old trick of making your tailgate a little more secure. Now the biggest item I have to show you in this video is obviously my deck. And the deck is basically these truck bed drawers that I can pull out. And you can see they come out pretty far. Now I love the deck. It works really well for my lifestyle because if I'm being honest, it's so rare I haul big items or utilize the entire bed space. I mean, that's why I bought the short bed option of a mid-sized truck. But I do carry a lot of little things like off-road recovery gear, small tools, and also sometimes gear for camping. These are things I find myself loading and unloading out of my truck all the time. They're also things that I really prefer to keep dry if possible. Everything I put in my deck drawers, I think for the most part is waterproof, but I prefer it to stay dry if possible. And also, like, this jack right here is pretty expensive, so I prefer to have lock storage if possible, even though I already have the pop and lock. And yes, you can get a tonneau cover to kind of satisfy all those needs. However, I used to just take all these different things and chuck them in the back of my truck, and I slapped a tonneau cover on. It was really annoying getting to things all the time. Everything had to be tied down, which means to actually get to them, they had to be untied. Everything was just really disorganized and there wasn't easy access. And with the deck, this solves all of those problems. Now, obviously, I recognize that the deck isn't for everyone, and I even made a whole video here on my YouTube channel talking about who I think the deck is for and who it's definitely not for. But with that being said, and I hope I don't sound too pushy when I say this, but the deck for me is hands down the best and most underrated storage mod for the Tacoma. If you're on the fence about it and you use your truck in a similar way to what you think I use it for, I would say get the deck. About a year or two ago when I got it, I went through the motions of, oh my god, it's so expensive, it's going to take up so much space in my truck, I have to drill holes in my truck bed, I'm not really sure about it, but I'm very happy to say that I'm happy with the deck and I love it, and it's definitely in my top 5 modifications or things I've done to my truck overall. Also, I really like Decked because they have really good customer service. Every single question I've asked them before, they're really quick to respond. I also really like that the Decked is made here in the USA. It's extremely well constructed, and actually I want to show you, I don't know if I've ever done this on my channel before, but I'll like open up both of these deck drawers and I can literally, hopefully without crushing any of my gear, both of these drawers support my entire weight. So yeah, the deck drawers are awesome and they're lockable. This is the wider one where honestly I keep my off-road jack in. It fits perfectly in there. I have a bunch of little small accessories here like Cody's bowls, work gloves. Honestly, this is kind of disorganized right now. Like I have fuses here because I was working on a wiring project, torque wrench, ratchet tie downs, and I also have a backpack actually made by Decked. It's called the D-bag that normally sits in here as well to hold more gear. I changed the setup based off of if I'm going on a trip or not, but anyways, in the little drawer, just some simple tools and some small things I commonly use around the truck and stuff like that. Like there's extra fuses in here, wiring stuff. I also have paint polish and stuff like that because my truck always gets scratched up from the trails and I like to polish the scratches out. I think back here, I hope back here, yeah, I have some emergency water. This is an extension for my jack, air hose from ARB, and I also recently, I don't know if I've ever showed you guys this, but I have their gauge. So this is nice so I don't have to run to the truck and rely on the TPMSs, updating at a super slow rate to tell me what my tire pressure is. And then if you've watched any of my off-road videos, you guys will know that I can't stop talking about this easy deflator from ARB. This airs my tires down accurately and in no time. Love this thing. The deck also has these 2 storage cans, which are called ammo cans on each side. So you can actually store quite a bit of stuff in here. I put ice in these before to put drinks in, and it's worked okay as a cooler. It just gets really hot back here. I mean, they're not designed for that. There's also no holes to drain the water. You can drill holes to do that, I just haven't. But a lot of times just trash will end up in here, which is totally fine. And then on this side, you guys can see I have the bed outlet relocated to work with the ammo can. So originally, the bed outlet is normally over back here, but you can obviously not really reach it, especially because there's this lid that swings out and it would just hit the ammo can. So if you watch my decked install video, I basically cut a hole for this thing and now it's still usable, which is awesome. Now I don't want to get too much more into the deck because I already have a couple videos here on my channel. In most of my off-road videos, you guys see me use it. I have an install video and an initial review video. Plus again, I have that video where I talk about who the deck really isn't for and who it is for. But I do want to show you some modifications I've added to my deck. So this is a mount specifically for the MAXTRAX MK2 traction boards. It's made by Expedition Essentials, but I got it from Tacoma, which is honestly where I've been shopping for so many of my recent modifications. Like I got my Stinger head unit from there. And you guys already know who watch my videos, a lot of stuff from Tacoma Beast, but I found this mount on there. I thought this was so cool, and I basically found out that I could modify it in a way that worked with my deck system so that I could mount these traction boards, and I'm shaking them as hard as I can, securely onto my truck bed. Now, before I show you guys how this thing works, you might know that I previously had traction boards on my deck like this. They were DV8s. I really like those traction boards. It was just really hard to find a nice mount to securely have them on my deck. I originally had them just tied down with ratchet straps, which was okay, but there was no security, and also it didn't look very nice, and I think this is a better permanent solution. So what's great is the DV8s are in my Land Cruiser. These are brand new MAXTRAXs because, again, nothing else works with this specific mount. In fact, these MAXTRAX are so new, they're literally zip tied together still. But anyways, to show you how this works, there is this pin that you basically have to twist with this keyed thing. And that basically allows you to pull this lever arm up, and you can see the MAXTRAX come up. They powder coated this beautifully. All of the hardware is in place perfectly. Just overall, a really nice piece. On the back there's even a badge with the batch numbers shown where this mount was made, and I just think, wow, that is pretty cool, and along with everything else just adds to show how high quality the mount is. So to show you the opening mechanism in more detail, this pin, I think, technically isn't really a lock. You can see it's just, you know, something that moves to latch and unlatch this, which is why there is another area for a lock right here. I think if you tried really hard, you could wedge your fingers back there and unlock this, which is why there's this extra lock. But yeah, you can add on an extra lock if you want. As this arm pulls up, you can see it lifts the MAXTRAX up, and it fits the grooves of the MAXTRAX perfectly, as you can see. I've got the boards out to show you how I mounted this to my deck, and as you can see, they allowed for a lot of different places you can mount. With the deck, it's really easy to obviously drill through wherever. So I made sure there was nothing obstructing on the underside of the deck, which there wasn't. And basically, I spent a lot of time really just lining this thing up. I wanted to get it as even as possible. So you can see this bar that holds the MAXTRAX in is pretty close to centered. Maybe it's a little off, but you really honestly can't tell. And the nice thing was, with the pattern of the deck, I could easily line everything up to make sure it was straight side to side. Once I did that, I marked 4 holes. Then I put all my bolts in, and then was the fun part of adding my washers and nuts on the other side. Now, with the way the deck is, I had to put the top piece on prior to putting this mount on, or else things might not have been straight. So the only solution was taking out the drawers and crawling in underneath to add my washers and nuts. I epically failed when I tried to go in the smaller drawer. There was just not enough space, but I did manage to have a lot of room in the bigger drawer. I mean, that That one is significantly bigger and there's a lot more room. This is one of the few times I'm really happy when I'm doing an install that I'm small and can fit in these tiny crawl spaces. So I could fit in through the big drawer side, add my washers and nuts, and thankfully there was kind of like an opening underneath there to reach the smaller side where the other two bolts were exposed on. So I could add it from underneath there. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it. This is fantastic lockable storage if you have MAXTRAX MK2s. Again, unmatched quality. I really can't stop talking about that because I purchased so many Tacoma products that I end up reviewing on my channel. So I see a lot of mounts and different things that are powder coated and are nice, but I really haven't seen anything this nice. Also, if you have a red theme going on in your truck, kind of like I do, just based on like the factory stickers and stuff, this red matches perfectly. So yeah, now I have a really nice, dedicated, permanent, at least I think permanent, space for some traction board because most of the time I go off-roading, I'm in the desert. So this next thing is another modification I added onto the deck, and that is extra lighting inside the drawers. Now, I know it doesn't look too different because right now it is bright out, all my garage lights are on, but here is a clip of how they look at night. They're pretty focused light because I'll show you in a minute how I had to mount these. They're strip light bars from VLEDs. VLEDs is a solid LED lighting company, and I have a bunch of other stuff for my Tacoma already installed, but I wanted to do something custom because there was nothing really available in terms of adding lights to these deck drawers. So I decided to take two of their strip LED bars, put them on the underside of the top of the deck, and then daisy chain them together. I believe these are in the color temperature 5500K natural white, so not something super harsh, but definitely a nice little addition because the trails get so dark to where it's pitch black, and if I need to get something, especially if I'm like, you know, trying to look through my toolbox or something, any amount of light will help. Right now, because of just everything I have set up in my truck, the only way I was able to wire them was through an existing switch going through my fuse block setup. However, eventually I would like to put the switch right here. I mean, there's lots of room back here to put a little switch to control them because I think it would make the most sense to go back here just for like ease of access and stuff. But I wired this up in a way where I could easily change up the wiring if I wanted to, and I basically have a terminating end hidden under this piece right here, so I can basically hook up a switch here whenever I'm ready to do that. But yeah, this is a nice little addition, and honestly, you can't even see that they're there, and that was kind of by my design, so I'm happy about that. I realize this LED lighting thing is really specific, but I will say, if you guys are thinking of doing any sort of LED lighting project or adding maybe extra LED lights to your truck bed, or maybe lights for your engine bay, maybe some rock lights, VLEDs is really the place to go. This was completely a DIY thing, but it was so easy. So I think I'm gonna be doing some engine bay lights. Let me know if you guys wanna see a video on that, using some strip light bars from VLEDs as well. So I have a few more things to show you guys. First off, I wanna talk about this Molle panel. I got it from a small business called OG Fabrications a couple years ago. And this is a really nice piece. It's made out of starboard. It's a couple years old, but still looks really good. And also it mounts to the factory rails, which is nice. I will say I haven't used it as much ever since I got the deck, just because I throw all my small stuff in my drawers anyways. But a Molle panel is great for storing stuff. And what's nice is the deck had a little bit of tolerance to allow me to still mount this Molle panel. So yeah, I still have that in case I mount stuff, but again, I haven't been using it too much, but it is nice to have that extra option for storage outside if I ever needed it. Another thing on the bed rails, I'm sure you've noticed this. Now, these are billet aluminum CNC machined tie downs from BilletTieDowns.com. I've done comparison tests before with this billet tie down, which is so secure and actually fits most of those like ratchet strapped hooks, whereas the factory ones don't. And also the factory ones like have a lot of wiggle room, which is kind of sketch. So these are really solid tie downs. They're easy to mount. They just have like a mounting plate that goes on the rails. You can get them in a variety of colors. I just have black finish on mine, and I have one on both sides of my truck. But these are really great for someone like me, because when you get the deck, the one downside I've mentioned before is that you lose a lot of tie down points in your truck. So having extra tie down points on the rails is really nice, and these billet tie downs are as good as you're gonna get with quality as far as I found. The last thing I want to show you guys are these bed stiffeners, which I got from Cali Ray's LED. Now, if you don't know what these are, they have a lot of different purposes, but the main purpose really is because the Tacoma bed, if you didn't know, is made out of a composite plastic. It is not made out of metal, which means it is prone to warping and cracking over time, especially if you're someone that does a lot of off-roading. So these bed stiffeners get put in place to basically prevent that from happening. I don't fall under this category, but also if you're someone that has kind of like a bed rack or a camper shell, that can significantly increase the chances of your bed warping and stuff. So bed stiffeners are kind of like cheap insurance. The reason I say they serve a lot of purposes is because this one, at least from Cali Ray's LED, has a lot of different holes for different tie down options, which again, if you have the deck system, you lose some of those tie down points, so having this is nice. I mentioned earlier, each of the bed stiffeners have a bottle opener, and these ones from Cali Ray's LED have a flagpole mount. These are easy to install, again, cheap insurance. They're powder coated beautifully. They came from the Cali Ray's factory in great condition. I am very happy to have these on my truck bed because with the amount of off-roading I do, maybe not now, but over time, bed warping or cracking is something I am a little bit worried about, especially because I plan to keep this truck for the long haul. So yeah, that is why they're there. And it's also really nice that they don't interfere with the decked drawers at all. So that is my truck bed setup. I definitely want to know what you guys think, and I'm really curious to know if you guys out there would build your truck in a similar way, or is your lifestyle so different where you would run far away from a setup similar to this? What do you guys do with your truck bed, and how is it built up? I'd love to know in the comment section down below. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Everything I talked about in this video will be linked down in the description below. If you want to connect more with me, you can follow me on my Instagram. It is at ChloeKuoTaco. I post more in real time on there. But other than that, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.